traveling for days without my knowledge of provenance. Throughout my life, you called me a renegade. Through all my lows, you said we could start again, but I'm a renegade of your love. But I'm a renegade of your love.
Been on the streets a few months. I'm trying to pick myself up. I may be living alone, but I still believe in love. And although my flaws had dragged me down on the coldest night, I'm still kicking around. Then I saw you back before my time was shortened. No, throughout my life you called me a renegade. Throughout my loves you said we could start again,
Good evening, tankers, and welcome back to the Australian Esports University League for World of Tanks, where we are showing off the explosive competition between the universities of Australia and New Zealand. I am Mendrix, and joining me this evening is Midnight. Mate, tell me what's good.
Mendrix, a lot of things are good, but it is going to be rounds 3 and 4 here for World of Tanks. And after the first two rounds that did take place last week, Mendrix, the fight to climb your way up the ranks is well underway. And the reason why I say that is there isn't a lot of time to break away from your opponents. So, of course, these teams, every single win, every single point is absolutely critical.
Yeah, we are playing 2 rounds basically every night that we bring this broadcast to you. And before we do jump into the action, of course, we need to talk about the sponsors who make this entire competition possible. Of course, Chatime is the fastest growing iced tea franchise in Australia. AOC offering a wide selection of stylish monitors for home or office gaming. Indomie, the best quality flour and fresh spices from natural resources of Indonesia. And Rig, audio for competitive gamers and streamers at all levels. That being said, though, let's have a quick look at the week 1 results just to see how everything has played out. And when we do bring it up, I do remember there was a number of universities that really kicked off to a strong start, getting 6 points. And as we can see, the University of Queensland, 7th Army Reserve sitting down 6 points. The University of New South Wales, UKM is sitting on 6. And then we're starting to see a nice even round there with the rest of the team. Of course, the Deakin Daddies, another University of Queensland, and unfortunately, University of Wollongong not really getting off the ground, but perhaps they can turn it around this week. Midnight, how are you feeling about all that?
Pretty good, and it's already seeing a bit of a start, right? And again, there is not a lot of time. You don't have a lot of time to make up for the early losses that you get under your belt here. So these teams, especially the University of Wollongong and the University of SA, they need to perform well today. There's no two ways about it, unfortunately, because otherwise you're going to get some of your opponents just sort of running away from you. And unfortunately, if you let that happen early on, yes, it sounds ridiculous approaching round 3, but you've just got to make sure you get that win under today.
I mean, we've only had, 1 week really of broadcast time that we've shown this, and already it looks like there's a massive lead that's beginning to build. So each week is really critical. Of course, I think a lot of teams probably realized from last week that the competition is pretty strong. They probably do need to sit back, do a little bit of extra practice, and I think maybe we might see some different results coming from those lower teams at the moment. Ideally, I'd love to see it because, of course, I'm from University of Wollongong. I really want to see these guys perform, okay? So hopefully these guys start to bring up something pretty good there. Apart from that, let's have a quick look at the map pool in terms of what's going to be played today as well. Pretty excited. We will have a few different maps from last week as well, which is interesting to say the least. But as we can see here for the first round, we're going to have Sand River, Himmersdorf, and Tundra. So pretty easy there in terms of across there. Sand River being the new one. We did get to see Himmersdorf and Tundra last week. Himmersdorf, of course, one of the more interesting ones that we can come across because it has a lot of different entryways that you can get into. But of course, all of those buildings makes it very hard for the majority of the teams to move around.
Yeah, and we did see, again, we do talk about Himmersdorf and Tundra. Of course, remember that Tundra is only if these teams do draw at 2 rounds apiece. So more importance will, of course, be on Himmersdorf that we have seen. It's very tight, not a lot of room to maneuver. And Sand River, as you talked about, that newer map coming in. Now, there's less places to hide in Sand River. Hell, you can see it in the image on your screen now. There's not a lot of places unless you want to go for the southern ballpark. But I'm very interested to see again. We're not going to see anything too shenanigan in terms of tank selection because even after only 2 rounds, Mendrix, we have got a pretty good idea of what these players are going to lean for, but it's going to be about avoiding damage and being able to get better trades in your opponents when you are making that push on offense on Sand River.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, based on the competition so far, it seems to be medium to heavy tanks, leaning a little bit heavier on those medium tanks. I mean, probably chose poor words there for the sentence, so let me just clarify to make sure everyone knows that the tanks, the players seem to have a focus of tanks that are a little bit more medium in terms of what they provide. We're seeing like this T-3485s, the Cromwells, the VKs, depending on which particular variation of them. Of course, there are 4 types of VKs that these guys can actually pilot, 2 being heavy, 2 being medium. There's a lot of discussion about that just before the cast between me and Midnight about which ones are actually heavy versus medium. They're like, oh, it turns out it's both. What would have thought? Is really the case on that one there. And what I really found about this, Midnight, when I took a bit of a deep dive, into those particular values, looking at everything about it. We're talking about the, damage per minute, the depression angles, the speed, the traversary, the turret, all the different options that these guys have in terms of the variations in the tanks. I found that they actually just wanted to have these particular tanks because they had really good health pools, while at the same time seeing it around that above average mark for the amount of damage it can actually be putting out there. So really nice tanks with a lot of beef behind them, but at least still provide some pretty good whack for their wallop. So I don't know how you feel about that. I know you want to see artillery. I don't think we're going to see artillery. It might be on Sand River because it's an open map. I mean, is that really what you think might be the opportunity for these players to crack it out?
Are you really going to ask me? I would love to see it, but are we going to see it? I'm really, really hesitant because as you talked about, the tanks that are being selected primarily are, I think we can easily refer to them as jack of all trades. They don't specialize in long range, they don't specialize in being up in your face, but these medium to heavies just don't really seem to have a super obvious point of weakness beyond maybe they're a bit slow. But then again, you've got good health pools, you've got good damage output, you can subsidize and get rid of a little bit of specialty when you just generalize so well. Because again, when you only have 3 tanks aside, you don't have to have that much additional specialty in there. So, I'm upset, Mendrix. Again, I would love just light tank rush or artillery getting a couple good shots in. But yeah, we're going to be seeing, I suspect, a repeat or very similar tank selection, considering 2 of the 3 maps we've got for our round number 3 tonight is the same as we saw last week.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably part of the reason that we'll be seeing those ones there. Especially because, although we might be seeing, again, Sand River a little bit different to the other maps, as we were discussing, a lot more open. The idea of perhaps artillery coming into play would be lovely. But maybe we might actually have a little bit more variation in terms of maybe looking for a little bit of a lighter tank. Perhaps just to get a little bit of a bonus from the speed beforehand, because of course, when you don't have as many areas to hide behind, of course, the hull down tanks really being very popular at the moment because you can sort of just protect. You got that nice top turret, which is very strong, resistant to most fire. You're protecting most of your body by using a decent rock formation to make that covering. That's not available on Sand River, so perhaps they could go for something a little bit more light. Maybe we get to see an AMX. Maybe we get to see a T50. That's something I would really love to sort of just get onto the map. A little bit of variation would be good.
I mean, I'm still holding out for someone to pull out the IO. That's kind of just what I'm holding my hopes for, because it hits like a truck. If you can make it work, you can make it work. But it's that issue with it's so many tanks specialize in one thing. And the hell we saw last week. I believe it was the KR2. I think was pulled out for our final match. I think it was the KR2 at least, and it couldn't do much because, unfortunately, it's great if you can give it room and time, but with only 2 people acting as not going to use meat shield, but it's kind of what you have to do there, you just don't have the time to give yourself the range to hit there. So, even on something a bit more open like Sand River that we're looking for our first match here, I'm not so sure if that's going to be the map to pull that one off. So we'll have to see. And of course, let's see what these 2 teams are interested in bringing to the table here, Mendrix, because of course we do have the UL of New Zealand and UQ, and it's important, I think, to remember that both these teams are on relatively even footing. 1 win, 1 loss. It's a match where if you want to break out, this is going to be it.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that they do have something up their sleeves. I mean, we talked a lot about that tank selection as well, but another thing that's really come into mind is that idea of just sort of making sure you can pick off members one by one. Obviously, we're just waiting to see when these guys are ready to get into the mix of it so we can jump into that action. But I really found that last week when we were watching the players really strut their stuff, the ones that were really successful were the ones who were able to divide and conquer. Basically force one person out of position, maybe draw them to an area or a line of fire where they think they're safe, then use the camo in the background to sort of just sneak past and then take on the members 3-2, 3-1, basically focus down one at tank immediately. And then when you are having the ability to continue throwing out the extra damage because you still have one member alive, making sure that you come in for the blocks so that way they still get some extra fire.
Exactly. Even if you're a wounded animal, you're still alive. You're still able to fire your shots back there. So it, I think, is the right way. Hell, we saw it last week where 3 tanks were, I think, like sub a couple hundred HP, but none of them went down, and therefore their opponents, one by one, they were hunted down. So I feel that's the better way to approach games like this. But again, it's a matter of, is that even the opportunity of hunting them down one by one? Do you focus your fire on one particular target, or do you just say, okay, well, hit what you can, and if you can focus the same guy, great. But if you can't, you're not exactly going to be losing much sleep over the fact that you couldn't focus down, the Cromwell that's sneaking up behind you exactly.
Well, exactly right. That's literally what it comes down to. That idea of making sure that you do find those targets and making the shots count. I think some of the most annoying factors could be just the fact that you're missing out because you're not there. You've been baited into an area. You've decided to, chase someone down the hill. Next thing you know, they've already moved off to the side, or they have 3 members waiting for you down there. You think they're by themselves. Obviously, at this point, they do that. I really think that idea of just playing around it. You've got 7 minutes of time to actually sit back and play around. So if you really are using that effectively, you can actually buy some time to go and destroy all vehicles as a way of victory. If not, you really want to start pushing to get onto the point around that 3-minute mark. Otherwise, you do sort of leave yourself vulnerable to the attack, or leave yourself vulnerable to the defenders just shooting you out and resetting time over and over again.
Yeah, well, I think that's. I don't think we've actually seen a victory by point holding.
Nope.
The point holding is more so just hey, you now have to come deal with us. If you remember on Himmeldorf last week, and we'll see it likely today as well, that little nook that you can hide in where the defenders don't get any easy shots on you. It's basically saying, look, you don't have a choice now. We may be the attackers, but you're coming to us. So we'll have to see, well, on the maps such as Sand River that are a bit more open, are there going to be any more of these cheeky points, or is it going to be a bit more of a trading fire and the points just sort of become a, hey, this is generally where we're going to fight around?
Exactly. Well, I think that being said, though, we do have everything. You've had enough from us just in terms of what we've been saying. We are going to be jumping into that action very shortly between the two teams tonight. That is going to be starting us off, of course, that's going to be the University of Queensland and University of Wollongong as well, just representatives from those two universities respectively. As we can see, we are now jumping into that action and pretty excited to see what happens here on Sand River. There's those 2 main entry points that sort of bridge in and, of course, create that bottleneck for these players to jump into. See, most of the teams here from UQ seem to be hitting down that one side here, of course, while they're not under fire or under any real threat. They're going to cross over immediately, see if they can get some control on that side too.
Yeah, and the tanks that we are seeing is a little bit of everything. A Skoda, a Hellcat, an A43 coming out from the side of the University of Wollongong. So a really nice spread here. While their opponents on UQ, it's a lot more standard. 2 VKs, both heavy variations, which is very standard.
They're the medium heavy variations. I'm pretty sure. Oh, no, wait, no, they're heavy. You're right. So
yeah, they're the heavy ones. I did my double checking, Mendrix. Don't worry. I remember this argument.
Fair enough, yeah.
And they're paired up with, and they've made a full Axis lineup here, a P43, an Italian tank bringing to the table, which has got pretty decent damage if it's able to land its shots and not just bounce them off there. So I do really quite like this, as we're seeing a charge forwards here for the second objective. As one team looks like someone's just hanging out in the hills.
Yeah, just waiting to see when they do make themselves visible. Of course, Hot Rod leading the charge in this scenario here is trying to get there. Should be able to spot out Thega between the two of them right now. And as you can see, we do have the 2 VKs just beginning to make their way down to that lower side of the ground. It's going to be up to Scorpio and Mr. X as well to actually see what happens, while Hot Rod holds the high ground to see if he can get through. And he's found a few members there, going to throw out a few shots, trying to get himself into either get onto Aspect 2G or perhaps maybe get a hit onto Skelmus.
Yeah, I mean, right now it is merely just poking around saying, okay, what do we see and where is it? They know where one person is. Of course, they only have vision on one apiece, but you've got a pretty good idea, hey, where one member is, the rest of the team probably isn't going to be too far away, because otherwise you get divide and conquered and everything goes a little down here. As Harold and Aspect, they're trading fire, but honestly, I would be a bit surprised if either of them land too good of a connection on the other, unless Harold overstays his welcome a little bit there and gets peaked himself.
Yeah, he's got to hit just the top down the side there as well. A bit of dancing on the side there as well, but they're now making their move. The Scorpio, Mr. X are now pushing it in with the VKs. They know exactly where the two members are as they're taking their shots, and the two are coming into place. Hot Rod still chilling on that top side, not making his move just yet. Thega seems to be the one under attack now between the two of it. And as you can see, Skelmus is now trying to get in with that Hellcat. But now that they have the cover of the rocks there, Thega seems to be just a fish in a barrel as he's getting shot down. The two of them are focusing him down right now. A little bit of a ram there, not going to do too much damage. Another shot not really hitting the mark here. And I think Thega is going to be taken down, but they have taken a bit of damage onto Scorpio to really make this play work.
Well, while all this has happened, Aspect went for a flank. Aspect hoped his teammates would be able to hold the position, but they went down. They just got rushed over, and now Aspect is in the middle of the open, running for the hill here, going, oh crap, I need to go. But the base is now being captured. He's not allowed to run Mendrix. He has to try and fight a losing battle. He has to take down basically 2,400 HP. He's got 800 to play with.
Well, it's one of the little advantages here is you can see he's got some pretty good traverse speed on this Skoda, and he's beginning to make his move around at the moment just to see if he can remain a little bit mobile to get those shots in. And now jumping onto the point as we speak. He's only got about 40 seconds at the moment, but of course what you try to do is come in a little bit late with that last member just to sort of cut it down. He's now trying to reset that time. He's taking some shots here, managing to actually get through this without taking too much damage. The speed of that Skoda seems to be giving him that little bit of extra movement.
Yeah, but the problem is now Scorpio's hunting him down. Aspect has to back up here as the VK charges at him, and while this is happening, the time is on. And even Mr. X in the other VK is moving in. So Aspect, he can fight as much as he wants. He might be able to take down Scorpio there, but he needs to turn his barrel the right way, but gets sniped down. Harold had enough for him there, takes him down in what a dominating fashion here for the side of UQ.
He had the right idea. I thought maybe he would have been okay as long as he just got to that bottom side of the hill, but even though he had that little bit of extra speed, that was really accounted for well, and as you mentioned, just a fantastic shot managing to take him out. So pretty crazy off the back here, looking pretty good in terms of our start here. Exciting stuff, and again, just off the botch flank, really. I mean, he kind of had that faith in his teammates that they would stay alive, but unfortunately, they weren't able to make it the whole way through. Yeah,
the charge that came out from the side of UQ was just more than the members of the University of Wollongong were able to hold them off there. And what was quite interesting, Mendrix, to me, was in the approach, it wasn't like we saw UQ start tackling one of the points. They went straight for the mountains, and even though they knew their opponents were waiting inside, they're like, all right, we just got to wait this out, we can try to get some harassment down, and then they just charged right for the throat. Did make it work, though. So I think that partly maybe have something to do with the fact that the VKs are just insanely good at what they do.
Yeah, they are very strong in terms of that case. Again, bringing that little bit of extra HP to the map while still dishing that right amount of damage. And of course, with that focus fire that they brought into play, when they were able just to jump onto Thelga straight away, that just basically allowed them to push on through. And that was it from that point. You could tell that they were in a good spot. From there, the shots were fantastic as well, because really, a lot of them still had decent amount of HP on them, but they really penetrated that hole and basically did maximum damage.
Yeah, and that's kind of where the defense from UOL just fell apart. They tried to hold the line as if you saw the flank coming out from that skirt, and if it would have worked, I think that could have been really nice. It's going to hit damn hard. It's a sniper tank for a reason, Mendrix. But the problem is, the flank only works if the front line is held, and unfortunately, as we saw, it kind of just crumbled. So coming into the next round now, obviously we do have UQ playing the defense and Wollongong on the offense here. Do you try a similar approach that just got used against you? Do you try and slow push your way through the mountains and then just charge forward? Or do you just say, screw it, we'll go to the other side of the map and try and take the objective there? Because it was just kind of ignored that run. It wasn't even a consideration.
I feel with the teams, it sort of comes down to that tank selection that we've found. Most of them do like to just take the same tanks back into that mix. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see the same tank selections from the team, whether it's going to be the VKs or whether they do decide to sit on that Skoda as well, once again, for a little bit of extra movement and speed, purely because that's the tank they've been practicing on for this competition. They understand how the tanks move, how everything that happens. That does mean that perhaps the better play would be to look to Site 1 instead of going for that Site 2. One of the good things about Site 2, especially when it comes to the attack, is of course it's not right next to that bridge or one of those little entry points that comes into it. So if you're trying to make your position towards there and a defender parks himself before you make a move to it, you could be in for a rough ride as they're shooting while using the cover of that ridge to sort of allow for it. I do like the idea of UQ on the attack. They understood exactly what they wanted to do. They really focused on that one specific site. They crossed over early, so there was no chance or no threat of being shot down while they were making their moves, and just slowly picked their way in. Of course, using that P43 for a little bit of scouting, information.
Yeah, we'll see what adaptations are made coming into the second round here. Is obviously UQ have to hold, and if they can, it's going to give them a great position. Obviously, their opponents aren't exactly going to give them the time of day, and I would just love. I don't know if we'll see an adaptation in the tanks that are brought to the table here, Mendrix, but I think if you just go for a bit of a slower push against UQ, that might work there, because you can't exactly trust on them to go for the same flank that you yourself went for here as they're coming through. And a few changes up here, an SU-100 and even an M44 being brought in, and Cromwell's Mendrix are hitting it as well.
Oh, this is exactly what we want to see. I thought maybe they weren't going to make the swaps, but the players have been practicing different tanks. They will be bringing a completely different arsenal now. And of course, it is going to be UQ on defense and University of Wollongong, New Zealand, of course I'm saying University NZ Grasshoppers making a play on the side. So, it's going to be interesting to see what these tanks do as the differences. Aspect 2G still piloting that Skoda. Is happy to scout ahead right in that sense. Press Rabbit rolling with the SU-100 and Thega on that M44. Now, this is going to be just a little bit of a difference. I think this is what you wanted to see.
Oh yeah, this is exactly what I want to see here. The M44 here, it hits damn hard, and look at the positioning right now. We are seeing the charge coming through from Grasshoppers going towards point number 1. This is what I wanted to see, the charge through, because now UQ are going to have to respond. And unlike last round, where, you know, they were holding the mountains and it was just a head-on battle, now UQ are going to have to come over a rather open area in order to come for this objective. And forgive me if I'm wrong, Mendrix, but I'm pretty sure M44s are good at hitting targets that don't have any cover.
Yeah, they do love a nice wide open area for the shots there. Of course, with Aspect 2G nice up in front, we'll be able to provide that information, just do the spotting and get that range of position. It is slowing down a little bit now that it's getting closer to the point, of course, closer to UQ, who are sitting nice and happy and dandy on the side there, just on the other side of the ridge. Of course, there's a nice open zone for them to get into it. Thega is, you know, sitting down on the back end, just making sure to remain safe. Does have the press Rabbit, just giving a little bit of extra cover on the side here, and is now just going to sort of slowly peek that way and start dancing from side to side here to get an idea of where the members are going to be from UQ, and they're just rolling around in circles at this moment in time. They're quite happy to sit and wait, just saying, yeah. You guys, they have no care for petrol, really. For them, it's just, you know, petrol just seems to just fall off trees for them. Of course,
yeah, I mean,
do have this quick shout out to Indomie just sitting on the side here. I'm really interested to see how not Mr. X get to make this work as well. We do have a bit of a swap across, because we have a swap out of players as well.
Well, see, does it actually work out? Because obviously, I just want to quickly go over what the Rabbits are bringing to the table here. The SU-100, I just realized it hits like a damn truck, but it also melts like paper, 610 HP as the base is being captured. So now, this is a game of Aspect luring his opponents into the firing lines of his two teammates. That is what the Grasshoppers are trying to do here. UQ, though, I mean, they're pretty quick. Double Cromwells means that they are very, very fast and able to charge in forward. So we'll see. Rabbit is also set up on the firing line. The moment that they jump into the open, one of them needs to get hit with a damn powerful slug here. The first round, well, Rabbit be able to land something. He doesn't. Oh, no, he does. Gets Mr. X.
Oh, there is a nice shot there, but it doesn't really do too much damage there. Thega trying to get something done, but of course now Mr. X is taking a bit of damage there. They've now pushed in right here. They're going for a ram, and they completely delete Aspect 2G as well, and the rush is successful. They completely obliterate the competition, and now all that's left is Thega sitting on the far end, trying to survive, but there's a nice shot. Mr. X taking a bit of extra damage for all that trouble, but now they know exactly where Thega is, and the hunt begins.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Thega, this M44, it can hit hard, but it is also made out of paper, Mendrix. And one more round will take him down. And I must say, there's no way Thega gets out of this one alive. Yeah, Hodrins is going to jump over the wall. Naughty actually steals that one up, says thank you very much. But I just really want to compliment UQ on the charge. Because what we got to witness there was they just went in single file, which I loved. Because how are you meant to hit the tanks in the back if there's only one that you're actually allowed to shoot?
Yeah, solution to that idea of we can get everyone else through safe. Yeah, we may lose one tank, but I think the crazy part here is all of them survived. No one actually went down, even with that heavy firepower that was being packed here by the University of Wollongong team. So real good decisive action really coming across here from UQ. Really love what they put together just to jump in, like you said, single file, run through, use that extra HP that they've got on the side there. On Mr. X, of course, the VK36 does have a little bit of extra HP, and that does mean that we're having a quick look across the board here, and a lot of direct hits there coming across from Naughty Beast 2, Hot Rod as well. Pretty damn exciting stuff here for that final round there between UQ and the University of Wollongong. I not the final round
Yeah.
here, but all the final round on this map.
Yeah, final on this map here, and I got a little bad because this SU, it took its shots here, but it got 2 penetrating rounds, but unfortunately just did not have the damage, and even Thega's M44, we saw those rounds, we saw the massive explosions that came out on the back of it here, but not exactly a lot of damage.
Well, there was no
able to
direct
do out
hits.
there.
There was no direct hits. There was no penetration there. There was that little bit of splash. I mean, it looked nice. It looked like it hit hard, but it was one of those things where perhaps it was all bark and no bite. And that being said, I know there's definitely a bite on that tank, but definitely when we looked at the practicality of those results, really it was just all bark in that situation. So things definitely looking rough here for the University of Wollongong. The Grasshoppers really do need to amp it up now, because if there is just one loss in the next map, that's going to be pretty much them out for this particular round. Of course, it's a bit further down on those points and sort of just losing that opportunity to take wins going into it. And of course, that next map is going to be Himmelsdorf. I think one of our favorite. I think a bit of a crowd favorite, although some people tend to hate the fact that this is a very enclosed map, and it does tend to favor a bit more on the mobility side of things, even though players are still rocking those VKs.
Yeah, I mean, it's with the fact that there isn't a lot of room to maneuver, it removes anything that is slow. So even if you were considering going for something a bit heavier, it just really isn't an ideal situation to bring out something like that. Even something like KV2 just doesn't have the maneuverability to survive, because in a map like this, I think the most important thing, not is just mobility, Mendrix, but it's being able to survive being outmaneuvered. If you can survive, one slug going into your back because someone's done a good flank on you, because there is so many ways to do it, I think that's an acceptable kind of tank there. And the problem is that to do that, you kind of need a jack of all trades. That's why we see the VKs, the T38s and everything like that coming out onto a map like Himmelsdorf.
Even a little bit, perhaps a Cromwell as well might make a move onto it. We have seen that as well. I believe Church was one of the players that did pilot that one the last time we got to see Himmelsdorf as well. I believe the players are ready, so we should be jumping into it shortly. And again, perhaps, with these two different teams, you have been seeing a little bit of variation in terms of those tanks. It seems that the Grasshoppers are liking to bring a little bit of the off meta to the mix, where maybe perhaps we might see UQ continue to go, the usual stuff, keep on playing those VKs. Maybe perhaps see a Skoda once again as well. Again, having a little bit of extra movement might be advantageous coming into it.
Yeah, hopefully, but they've also got to be a little careful, because again, I love the off meta, Mendrix. I love.
I know you're a man. You're a man of the off meta.
I saw the M44. I was like, okay, I don't care.
You got giddy. You're like, artillery. That's it.
Exactly. So I got what I wanted, Mendrix. But coming into this one, well, do we get anything too shenanigan? We do. Two fridges. We've got 2 fridges here, Mendrix.
Okay. All right. Let's see how this one ends up playing out. And this is just. Okay. Well, look. That being said, though, I mean, like 2 KVs, pretty happy with that. You're very happy with that. I can hear that. Even got the AMX. So we're just talking about there being like a little bit of different plays into it. We are still seeing though the VKs come across from UQ. Okay, so UQ is still sticking to the tried, tested, and true. They're looking for the win here, but I'm really going to be watching everything that happens here for the University of Wollongong in the sense of it. Now, as you can see, they're making some quick movements around on the plays here. Once again, it seems that the UQ team are choosing to stay together as basically a solid team. Mr. X once again out on front. He's going to be using that VK3601. Of course, probably, and I mean, there is another VK, but of course, he's normally the one sitting out the front. I think he's the designated damage soaker for the team. I'm used to saying tank a lot, but of course, this is a completely different scenario here. So he's now beginning to move up a little bit, and they're just beginning to just spread out across what seems to be the site 2, and looking to see what will be the best way to get in. But we know that Nook on site 2 that we've got there right now seems to be the best point of attack for teams in this competition.
Yeah, and we're seeing the potential setup there. And Aspect says, oh crap, I gotta go! I don't want to be here anymore, goodbye! As it looks like Thega has already gotten into a scrap here and unfortunately come off the worst end for it. I think Harold on this heavy T150 does do a trade, but he's backing up, so clearly realizes, crap, there's 2 of them coming in. 1 slug comes through and slaps down Schleckness for a little bit there, but no actual damage, finally. Getting some hits in there for Harold, but remember the KV2s hit hard, but they also don't take a lot of damage, especially when Mr. X gets involved.
Yeah, we can see Hot Rod's coming right on in now. Goes for the ram. hasn't managed to get the kill off this just yet, and is now just pushing in, allowing a little bit extra shot, and we do see Skelvis going down here. Now it's going to be all on Thega, but unfortunately he's been taken out, and nice quick moves once again from UQ, just continuing to demolish the competition, and again, they're just decisive. The shots land. They really are on point in this game.
Yeah, these KV2s hit hard, Mendrix, but you got to keep them safe, and unfortunately, to keep a KV2 safe, the answer isn't another KV2. As Aspect, I don't know what he's meant to do here on this AMX. It's a fast tank.
He's just like,
but,
I'm fast, boy. I'm so fast. I'm the fast boy right now. That seems to be his play on this one. He's sitting on the far end of the map, isn't anywhere near the rest of the players at this point, and 44 seconds. He's got to actually get there and to force the hammer on through. He's coming from the gates like, I'm so fast, boy. I'm turning around. I'm so fast, boy, at this point. And he's gonna take a shot. Immediately, he shows his head, takes damage.
Harold's gonna just this is gonna be a one tap from Harold. I say one tap. He's got 200 health. Doesn't land the shot. Is trying to play around the vision, but the problem is that is shredding down on the timer, and there is the shot from Mr. X, and devastation coming out of it. We saw some unconventionality from the Grasshoppers, and UQ said no.
Pretty much. It's very true in that sense. And you can really see now why these VKs seem to just be dominated in the competition. They just seem to be basically multi-useful, omnidirectional in terms of their uses and variations in all these maps, and they're just a solid all-round tank, jack of all trades, will still do the same stuff. And the thing is though, it's not just the tanks we have to talk about here, it's of course the players. Their shots just seem to be gone, because when the University of Wollongong actually came into the altercation between all three of them, they were the first ones to take the shots. They actually had a little bit of a drop, and again, that was that advantage having in that mobility, but it didn't matter. The shots either didn't hit the mark, they ended up being deflected or ricocheted or along those lines, or just not critical hits really off the back of it. And because they didn't really hit the mark, you could see that means it was capitalization all round from UQ, and they have just been hitting so hard. I mean, look at that, 0 damage. Only one real shot seemed to have hit there. And that's pretty damn rough in that sense. As you can see, direct hits, but no penetrations.
Yeah, and that's where what's the little bit of damage that was traded off at the very start of there. And then the Fridges, they went charging Thors, and I loved the idea, but the problem is that your KV2s take so long to reload, Mendrix, that if you're not getting, I don't want to call them kill shots, but if you're not basically taking about half the health off the target you're hitting, it's just KV2s just don't really seem to be impactful there. So it's unfortunate, but I must say, coming into the 4th round, I don't care that Grasshoppers have lost all 3 rounds before. I have kind of sort of maybe fallen in love with this team already.
Look, it doesn't matter if they perform as long as they put on a good show, right? That's the point, right? It's not about winning, it's about having fun, and these guys are definitely operating in that spirit of things. So really happy to see them actually bring that variation, bring something a little bit different. And who knows, again, if they keep playing around with these particular strategies, it could literally just be execution, right? They could have the right idea, they could be using it in play other ways, being successful, and this time around, the nerves got to them, and it's just a matter of them getting used to those nerves and then being able to play it through. We still do have to play that last map there. Of course, that means we won't be dealing with what's going to be the tiebreaker, so unfortunately, we don't have to worry about Tundra for this particular map round between University of Wollongong and, of course, University or UQ in this case. Midnight, I'm hoping the University of Wollongong show us something awesome once again. I want to see these light tanks. I want to see an artillery come into play. I don't think it's going to happen. I think maybe now they might say, you know what, let's just go back to the heavies. Let's just go back to the medium tanks and keep things a little bit more simple.
Here's my prediction for this, because I feel like if you are the Grasshoppers, you're like, all right, we can't really recover much in this situation.
All right.
Let's just give something a crack here. Now, you tried double
We're going down with the ship right now. This is what's happening.
I want to see just double something ridiculous. Something we haven't seen before. I just want to see something ridiculous out of the Grasshoppers, because you might as well at this point. Just go for something a little bit silly. It might be, you could go for double KR2 again. I clearly struggled in the first round, but I mean, Hopefully, we do get to see something a little bit crazy.
Something good. I think we got a little bit of a, you know, in the background we had like our guy, our producer being like, hey guys, you're gonna love it. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Okay, sweet. We're looking for it. So we're giving that to you guys as well. It is gonna be very good. I mean, okay, if it's gonna be, think outside the box. M6.
Yes!
SU100.
I don't care who wins all. Wait, this is UQ. UQ are bringing double IO.
IO's are in play. Oh, this is brilliant. So we've got the IOs, we've got the M6, we've got everything here into play. This is what you wanted. You wanted double IO.
Oh yeah. This is everything I have ever dreamed of, Mendrix, coming in for this match here. Of course, on the other side, I think we do talk about the SU100 coming in for Rat and double M6s, the American heavy tanks, which, again, 9 times out of 10 I'd be like, okay, so I like what Grasshoppers are doing. It's double tank, you've got an SU to make sure you've got the damage, and instead, I just want to watch from either Mr. X's or Scorpio's point of view, and just the moment a Grasshopper shows up, watch how quickly that health just drops.
He's hiding in the background. He's just like, shh, don't let anyone know that I'm here. That's so good across the board here. Although,
does he see them?
Here we go, yep. He's waiting. You can't see them. I think they stopped moving, right? So, he knows they're there. It's just a matter of when they do begin their movement again. Perhaps the range might come into play. Scorpio wants to take these shots.
He's waiting because it's all charging for the point of 1. As we can see on the minimap, both M6s are pushing forwards here. Scorpio is like, okay, something's up. Why aren't you guys on the other side? Like, why aren't we seeing you guys making a push at the second objective right about now? As Scorpio has been scotted, he's like, okay, what's going on over here, guys? Hello? Is this allowed?
Yeah, I think that it is allowed. Obviously, they're making it work. And now he's trying to get in there as well, trying to actually see if he can get some few shots off. You can see he's just creeping ever so slowly. Thega on the M6 is taking a bit of damage for the trouble here, but now it seems to be a 3-on-1, and they've made their way onto the site here, and there's the first shot, doesn't hit. We are finally taking some damage on an IO. He's trying to get in nice, close, and personal, so that way he really hits like a freightway train if possible. There's the first shot, does take off 260 damage here, but now it seems to be Scorpio up against the majority of this team. He's trying to get another shot here, but of course the little bit of debris there from the building is actually blocking, and it is going to be Scorpio taken down first.
First IO drops, Mendrix. My heart's a little bit broken right now. This isn't what I meant. This isn't what I wanted to see. I wanted to see the IOs one-shot people, not get basically one-shot themselves. As Naughty Beast's Churchill's in a little bit of trouble here. He is just getting slammed by Thega. Mr. X is so slow to the party that his teammate might just drop before he gets there. 11 health is what he retreats on.
Yeah, he needs to get out of there. Definitely a wounded beast is the scenario here. All he needs to do is a light breeze and he'll be falling right on down. But Mr. X, though, is coming in on that second IO. Has a lot of health. No! The first shot, it misses! And you can see his immediately like, yep, well, tactical retreat. Need to get away. Need to reload before I get back in there. But Skelmus smells blood. It's jumping in for the attack. It's just going to hit high behind the building, though. Now you can see that nice edging or angling coming through from Mr. X here. He's going to give him a pretty good side of it. He's now beginning to edge backwards to sort of find those shots, hoping that most of those hits, if they do land, is not going to do the most amount of damage. But Deakin's here. Manages to get a good shot, but he just blows him up. And now Skelmus is moving in, trying to get the kill.
Well, with only 1 member left and it's a slow IO, they will charge him down and take him out. The Grasshoppers win the round. And I said this was the team that I fell in love with. Well, I feel like UQ with the double IO unfortunately didn't work, but we saw a semblance of hope there, Mendrix. We saw a fraction of what could have been.
Oh, I just love it, right? He just comes from behind. I got a good shot. Come on in. And I'm dead. I literally would have been what I think thinking from that time. But of course, we do get to see really what happens to be University or the Wollongong. The Grasshoppers get themselves onto the board. A 3-1 up against UQ. I think, as you can see, did a decent chunk of damage before falling down 1,196. Press Rabbit just a little bit further behind. So Thega really doing the most for the team there, but doesn't die in the end. But the M6 combination with the SU100 definitely proving out. The IOs not really hitting the mark there, I feel. I mean, I know you wanted to see a bit more. I mean, there's some good damage in them. Definitely some good damage when the shots land, but unfortunately not really the best scenarios here. And we get to see a little bit of a different UQ come across.
Yeah, UQ had a bit of... I think UQ actively came into it with a little bit of fun in mind.
Yep.
That's what I was hoping to see out of Grasshoppers. Grasshoppers did just bring sort of a bit more standard, especially when you compare to what they did on Sand River with an M44 in their back pocket. So, but again, I don't care that it went in, that the IOs lost. I'm just happy Mendrix. I got to see double IO. That's me.
That's
happy.
it. Let's be honest right now, guys. Players out there, you have made Midnight's dream for this competition come true. Not only do you get to see artillery get played in one round, he also got to see 2 IOs. So right now, Midnight, you can that's your bucket list crossed off. From what I understand, you can leave the competition happy.
Basically, we've seen artillery. It's all in one round as well. It's been a matter of, hey, you got artillery. Hey, you got the IO twice. Like, I am super happy that has panned out the way that it has. Mendrix. It's a little unfortunate for the side of the Grasshoppers. They did lose in a 3-1 fashion because it still hurts their points. But what a show we got to witness for round 3.
Well, definitely in that case, they're definitely pretty excited there. Well, apart from that, I believe I just want to put out a quick thing. That's actually the University of Waikato. Not the University of Wollongong. Too much of the UOWs in my mind there as well. So the University of Waikato, thank you guys for putting on that show very much. They're making sure you can let you know off the side of that. And also, guys, we're going to a quick break.
Before we're done. From classic iced tea flavors like peach or mango to exotic lychee or pomegranate, you can enjoy your Chatime any way you like. Chatime, shaking tea up. Before we're done.
I just can't let you go. Lord knows that I've tried to. You said I was the only one. No one likes being lied to. You made this mess and left me with the pieces. Now I wanna burn all the bridges between us. I can't focus, I can't forget. I've been thinking too much lately. I just need to clear my head. I just need to clear my head. I've been stuck on your memory, but it's not like I need it. And we may have some history, but we don't have to repeat it. You made this mess and left me with the pieces. Now I'm gonna burn all the bridges between us. I choices you made, did you make them again, 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 again? All the lies that you told, did you believe in them? All the choices you made, did you make them again, 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 again? All the lies that you told, did you believe in them? Again, 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 again. You make them all the choices you made, did you make them
All the choices you made, did you make them again?
Did you make them All the choices you made, did you make them again, 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 again?
You just walk right out the door. Don't wanna do this anymore. Now I'm lost without you. You drive me crazy out my mind.
The summer might be soon coming to an end. But that doesn't mean the summertime vibes have to stop. Now's the perfect time to relax and unwind. To feel the sand between your tracks. You know, just kick back and take it all in. It's your chance to escape. From everything, the hustle and bustle, to enjoy the peace and tranquility of a vacation.
Who wants to spend their time looking at a boring beach when you could be causing chaos on the battlefield? Well, why not have both? You know, sun, sea, and shells. With this month's Prime Gaming Drop, you'll get this awesome-looking 2D style, which can adorn any of your vehicles to remind you of the summer season. Plus, you can pick any 2 of the goodies you see on screen. Summer Vibes also includes a tropical medal, 2 summertime decals, 5 missions for ×5 experience when victorious, a brand new set of battle missions and rewards, 1 day of World of Tanks premium account. Want it all? Simply click Claim Offer on the dedicated World of Tanks Prime Gaming page. Link your Amazon and World of Tanks accounts, then click the Allow button to redeem the offer. It's that simple. Now let's get your goodies. Already in the game? Just exit and log in again. Visit the official website to learn more. Commanders, keep the summer vibes going.
And we are back with the Australian Esports League, or the Australian Esports University League for World of Tanks. If you're just joining us, our representatives from UQ just triumphed 3-1 over Waikato, and we're pretty excited to see what happened in those games there, because a bit of spice was thrown in with those tank selections. But up next, we do get to see another UQ representative go up against the University of New South Wales. And what's really exciting about these two competitors, or these two teams, is the fact that they are the top dogs in the competition. They are top of the ladder. Are you excited for this, Midnight?
Oh yeah, I am, man. Just because we get to see two, as you talked about, two top dogs. Nobody better word it. Sizing off against each other coming into this particular round here, and it will be very fun to see, because you'd hope to see the standard tanks that we do typically see across the MOF map. So it's not going to be a matter of unless we see something really unconventional pulled out. It's going to be less of a matter of, hey, let's try something a bit like cheesy, and more about, hey, this is how good we are with the tanks we're bringing to the table.
Speaking of things that are really good, a bit of a quick word from our sponsors, Chatime, which is the fastest growing iced tea franchise in Australia. Of course, AOC offering a wide selection of stylish monitors for home, office, or gaming. Indomie, the best quality flour and fresh spices from natural resources in Indonesia. And of course, Rig, audio for competitive gamers and streamers at all levels. Now, Midnight, we are going to just take a bit of a quick, deep dive into the map pool, see what is actually going to be up and available for these two teams here in terms of what we're going to be seeing. And I believe right off the bat, I do know that we are going to be seeing Mines, Cliff, and Prokhorovka. So if you forgive me on that one, I'm still, practicing that particular pronunciation. I think it's going to get me pretty much forever. I'm never going to be able to pronounce that one right.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try it, because I don't need that kind of humiliation lingering on the internet to be clipped. Thank you very much. So, what will be quite fun, though, Mendrix, is our first two matches, which is, of course, where once we go to tiebreakers, Mines and Cliff are very similar in different ways. So Mines, it's typically charge down the middle and see what you can make play through there. While Cliff's, most times we're likely to see the similar motive of, let's go down the middle, but it's going to be a lot slower, a lot more playing around deception, trying to hide, trying to see what you can do there. Whereas on the first one, it's more so just get behind the rock, try get a little bit of high ground.
And we did get to see Mines actually get played out as well. Like you said, that idea of really controlling the mid is probably going to be the name of the game. So I'm going to be really excited to see how, our two top teams of the competition so far are UKM up against 7th Army, UNSW versus University of Queensland, what these guys two bring to the table. And to be honest, I'm expecting it to be that idea of those heavy tanks coming into place there. Hopefully the VKs once again, because I really want to see an excited match and what happens when they bring it to it. But we're seeing, again, the VKs are going to be there, but a few different iterations coming into the mix there. They're both going to be the heavy iterations on both sides of it, but we are going to see a Skoda, which seems to be the medium tank of choice.
Yeah, and I'm still a bit surprised that Skoda is receiving as much attention as it is here. But teams are obviously quite comfortable with it. Timo says, all right, let's grab it. And oh my lord, already we're seeing the speed of that medium tank get the high ground that we were talking about now. That'll give UNSW a bit of an advantage in this middle push if Epic is still interested in playing those kind of reindeer games in the middle.
Yeah, we did see that Epic did take a little bit of damage for the trouble there. He's now going to get some good shots off immediately. Takes a little bit of a bite of Datsun Beeble. Epic already is in the middle there as well, sort of just holding that little back line there. So a lot of from Timo needs to come on side in the sense here. Now we are just dancing back and forth there. They do have a bit of a flank on one of these
Oh my
tanks.
lord, what a charge.
Epic's just trying to charge in to get as much damage as possible. He's managed to get through. He's still relatively healthy, and now it seems to be a three-way pincer coming on the side here. But when I said he was relatively healthy, I mean he's been deleted off the map, and now the focus is now moving on to Datsun Beetle. Stanky Leg is trying to get away, but is going to be taken out by Aging Penguin, and now it's a 2-on-2.
Yeah, well, 2-on-2, 2-on-1, Mendrix, as
Same
Penguin is
thing.
the last one surviving. Dark and Timo can just charge forwards here, and this go to the thing that felt a little bit, hey, what is this doing here? Well, it gave them that opening, got some good slugs in, and then perhaps some questionable decision-making from UNSW comes through, and at the end of the day, they will be the ones losing the first round.
Yeah, and a little bit of quick moves there coming across from Timo just to get right into the thick of things. And again, he did manage to get quite a few decent pot shots off before the real girth of the battle started to happen. And that does mean that we do see a nice quick win coming across from them. A nice little quick one in terms of everything being in place there. Really excited to see how these teams do play out. And I thought maybe there was going to be slower matches, considering, again, these are probably the best teams in the competition so far, up in the top dog status. But they're really quick. It's actually them deciding the matches with that positioning early.
Yeah, and look at the damage that this Skoda was able to dish out there. Some insane work coming through. And, of course, the VKs do typically what you're expecting of them there. But on the other side of things, UNSW pulled the trigger, I feel like, super, super early. The idea of, okay, one of their guys is on the flank, let's go for the push, isn't a bad one. The problem is I felt like a particular UNSW tank went a little bit earlier than maybe the rest of his team was ready for.
Yeah, I completely agree on that. We're sort of just trying to drive in. I mean, overall, that being said, though, when you really look at the way it panned out, most of the shots actually were being hit towards the early or the lagging tanks coming through from UNSW. And I think the idea was, hey, just lag a little bit behind. If anyone takes any few shots, I'm the one that's going to be able to soak it. That means you'll be relatively healthy for when the real battle begins. But because of that extra position there, we saw Epic just get a few extra quick shots off. Everything had began to sort of even things out a little bit there, or begin to actually just soften up the team. And from there, when it did get into that real battle, it was really just going to be UQ coming out on top.
Yeah, and coming into the second round, again, we're going to see everyone charging down the middle. We know that there's going to be that. I don't see why you would swap out the Skoda, right?
Yeah.
It worked really well for you. It got there first. It got that flank through. Now facing it from the side of UNSW, do you bring a medium tank to try and match the Skoda's speed? Do you bring a Skoda of your own? Do you try and bring something that can, again, I think you just have to match speed for speed with in terms of another medium tank. And the Skoda is a preference.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have seen also the T-34 as another medium tank iteration come into it. Of course, not as quick as the Skoda, but still has, a little bit of an extra mobility edge over those heavies. I'd still think, maybe what these teams would like to sit on, especially on a map like Mines, I don't think there's going to be too much change. I reckon they're going to keep on using the same tanks. These are what they're comfortable on. This is what they're going to continue to use. And the aim of the game isn't going to be getting to those sites, getting to those points. It literally is, I'm going to kill you. I think both these teams here are not... There isn't a team on defense and a team on attack here. Both these teams on attack. The sites don't matter. And I feel like I'm in the middle of a who's line and is it anyway call out.
Unfortunately, that should have ended a while ago now, man. Why are you making me feel reminiscent, man? I used to watch that at drama class back when I was a student in high school. Yeah, it makes me feel old.
Both teams are in attack, and the sites don't matter. It's literally one of those takeouts here.
Thanks,
I think
Drew,
that's Mines for you.
that.
when you got 3 tanks on the field, and both, 6 tanks on the field, 3 aside. I feel like it literally is better for them to just control the mid and let's kill each other.
Yeah. Well, then again, the question becomes, what do you swap out, if anything, here? Because, of course, we did see 3 VKs coming through from the side of UNSW there. And I think you could maybe swap out to, if you're not going to bring 3 VKs to them, because I think that Skoda is going to be there. I don't see a reason why UQ change that out. So now, I feel like you try and match that. Now, you could try and match that with a VK, a medium VK. And it looks like coming into this one, the answer is, well, no. We're sticking with what what didn't work last round.
Yeah, exactly. Instead, we're just going to make sure that we've got our VKs across the board once again. We can see that it is going to be UQ operating that Skoda as well. The T25 in the mix of it, just coming up there. And you can see, again, these heavy tanks, these heavy tanks that they bring have a lot of extra HP with good damage pumped to them. So it is that idea of just being a nice all-round, strong, heavy team that can come into the play. And it is going to be that rush for the middle once again, except this time Teemo sitting a little bit further back instead of trying to get the high ground, try to get some extra shots, but nothing's going to land.
Well, first round is traded between Dark and Epic, and it's about even there. Teemo does get a nice slot onto Penguin, and now it's the trading, the posturing for positioning and using the central rock as cover. But Dark gets the worst end of a trade there, might have to back up a little bit more as Epic pokes around, but this time doesn't charge. They are taking their time now, UNSW, and I really like this, as we're seeing Teemo might have to make that first step, because UQ are losing these trades for the most part.
Yeah, and what I really like about this as well is you can see Dark's now just hiding in the edges. It has taken the most damage and is now waiting for the opportunity to get in. See if he gets a shot. His Stanky Leg there is in trouble here. And now, like you said, it is a charge coming from the UNSW team. They're looking for some ramps, perhaps maybe finish off Stanky Leg if possible. He's now on a slither of HP, and he's going to go down. No, he's not. It's going to be Teemo first, but they will trade out Datsun Beetle in this place here. And immediately, yeah, he's trying to get the cover behind the rocks, but he's going to be taken out. 2 quick shots they're coming here from UNSW, and they even out the score.
Yeah, and what a different way here. UNSW said, look, it wasn't a matter of, hey, we didn't bring the right tanks to the table. These are exactly what we need to bring. We just need to make sure that Epic doesn't die 30 seconds into the round by going too early there. So the fact that they were a bit slower, like, okay, we'll trade, we'll take these kind of slower fights. It worked brilliantly for them. They traded so much better than their opponents. And by the time Epic made the push around the corner, I don't think anyone had more than 500 health. Like, it was like, okay, now you're low enough, we can force the issue, and you're now going to have to try to run and hope that your, 2 decently heavy tanks and then your Skoda can survive against 3 heavies.
And just look at the amount of damage that actually put out there by Epic as well. 1,877, really being the anchor point for the team in this particular round. But it was them, again, having a much more controlled approach coming into it. They were all together. They were a nice, strong unit. The other thing that also came to play, because they were trading better, it forced UQ to actually feel a little bit under pressure. They ended up having to rush in a little bit earlier in order to actually see if they could perhaps get some ram damage in to finish off some of their opponents. But in the process of that, they opened themselves up. They were pretty much able to take all the shots here, and every shot that was actually shot out by UKM counted. They made sure they hit those marks, and of course they counted for the fact that they managed to take this up and even up the score 1-1.
Yeah, and now evening up to 1-1, Mendrix, obviously we will be going to our second map of this one. And sometimes, we hit second map and we've already got a good idea of, okay, one team is just sort of going to run over their opponents. Hell, we saw that in round number 3 coming through. But now, moving on to Cliff as our next map here, with both teams sitting at 1 apiece. Again, Cliff and Mines, there isn't too many differences. Sure, obviously the maps are different. Like, I'm not trying to say that you're literally got to... No one didn't press Control-C, Control-V when making these two maps,
one's got an M in the name, the other one's got a C.
Exactly. But someone copied someone's homework. But... This shouldn't, when it comes to tank compositions, I don't expect any changes from either side for the next 2 rounds. Like, both sides are going to probably try to do something very, very similar. Unless, like, okay, let's just try something a little bit off the wall. I expect VKs, I expect the one Skoda, I expect almost a repeat, and it'll just be down to who lands the shots better and who can use the cover a little bit better.
What I did like is, of course, when they were using the Skoda, the fact that they were able to use that to gain positioning early. Didn't actually have it this time. The Skoda did sort of get a good vision point, but... In all honesty, yeah, maybe they're running a little bit of extra view range on that particular tank as the rotations or the skill set, but I didn't really like that positioning coming there from Teemo. Didn't really give them as much advantage they had in the previous round. And I think that's a key thing here, to use that mobility, gain a little bit more ground further, and that opens up some extra shots for you. And again, you just didn't have the same opportunity. He was firing, but because he was further away, the shots weren't landing. Perhaps they didn't penetrate the armor. They were doing no damage. Whereas before, he was a little bit closer. He was in a much better position. And again, he was able to soften up that enemy just a little bit more, which ultimately probably led to them getting that win as well. So I would like for them, if they are going to run the Skoda, to actually just take that advantage of the mobility and push that little bit further.
Yeah, well, we'll find out, Mendrix, as we will be loading into our 3rd round of round number 4. I probably need to come up with a better way to word that one. And again, with both teams sitting with 1 win under their belt, there is a more than likely possibility we could end up going to a tiebreaker if neither of these teams is able to get a breakaway victory. So heading on to Cliffs for round number 2. Well, it's time to find out there how far will they be able to go through. And we talked about the potential Scoders. We're seeing double Scoder, double buggy.
Okay, good. So again, a little bit of a different iteration here. It's going to be University of New South Wales bringing out the variation in this place. And again, 2 Scoders now, a little bit of extra mobility coming here for UQ, but with the buggies, let's see what they can do. Of course, it's going to be on Asian Penguin and, of course, on Epic this time around. The 2 sides relatively close to each other, and what I really like is UQ's just saying, hey, let's just set ourselves up here right in the middle of it. And we do have a little bit of a variation change here. We've got the 2 buggies moving up towards that side one, looking for a flank position, whereas the VK is probably going to run straight into that line of fire to reveal where the enemy is.
Yeah, meanwhile, the Scoders are trying to do something very similar, charging into the middle, saying, okay, we've got the speed to get here first, and are you running these heavier VKs that we were perhaps expecting to see from you? They would probably expect to see something down the middle, and that's what they're setting up for. Look at the positioning. They're setting up for, okay, a push down the middle, you're going to try and use that rock for cover, and we're going to trade simply better, as Dark has been spotted out a little bit early, saying, okay, this is odd. I think they kind of get the idea, hey, something's up. Yeah, they spotted Epic on the flank.
Yeah, and you know what I really like about this as well? If they see that they can't really make a position on to Site 2, University of New South Wales can take the 2 buggies and just say, yeah, we're going straight to 1. Because they've really set up, basically an entrenched position here on 2. I think it's going to be really hard for UNSW to break UQ if the target of the attack is going to be Site 2 here. So I really would like it for these 2 buggies to just sort of say, hey, we're pretty far away. We can actually just make a beeline to Site 1 and actually force out a bit of a different move here from UQ and perhaps get them out of position.
Well, right now, it doesn't look like Epic or Penguin are really interested to go for that kind of drive. But then again, you've still got 5 minutes. Like, despite the rapid rounds we've had in the past, Mendrix, there is still plenty of time that can take place here. So we're seeing Penguin and Epic
Yep.
getting confused. Just as they're looking around for now, they're taking their sweet time saying, okay, what can we see? Is there any easy shots that we can get to try to get some nice damage down? But it looks like the members of UQ are doing a very, very good job to keep themselves safe on that high ground, and even a wild shot to try and lure their opponents out.
Yeah, just sort of say, hey, this is where we are for the time being as well, especially if you can see they did sort of move it a little bit back just to get a bit of extra cover and make it a bit harder for them to make that play across. We do have what seems to be a bit of regrouping here coming out of UNSW as they're making their way around what seems to be that little rock formation there on the side in the middle of the map, and it's going to be hard for them. They want to make this move here, but they're a bit worried here. We do have Epic just doing a little bit of a dance, trying to spot out what's going to happen here. And in the process of doing that, takes a bit of damage there. 235 chipped right away off. And now we do have what seems to be a little bit of an escort here, but Nation Penguin still taking that damage. They're making them move across here. Here's the charge. Datsun Beetle's on the move as well. And they're trying to dive in at this moment in time onto what seems to be Timo and Stanky Leg, Dark and Stanky Leg in this case here, but they do have Timo just waiting in the wings there, and he can come up and start firing as well.
Yeah, well, both these members of UQ have done a good job getting some nice damage down. Timo on the back line with this Skoda as well, get some good damage. But we're seeing Stanky charging forwards here on the VK. Wants to try and get at least one member down. His target is obviously going to be Penguin. That is eliminated. Dark is actually able to pick that one up. It will be a 1-for-1 trade here, Mendrix. But UNSW, you can say they've come out ahead because Beetle has taken no damage. Never mind. Beetle is now on his own, but with more health than both of these Skodas combined. Dark and Timo are going to have to try and outmaneuver this VK.
Yeah, he's trying to get the high ground at the moment and also get in position to actually attack the Dark here as well. As you can see, he's getting those hits here, and Dark's trying to get away. He's pretty quick. He's making the move and following down. Does get some good damage off, and now he's just changed targets. He's going to get a quick hit onto Timo and also see if he can skirt around and get that. He's just basically splitting his fire for the time being, but he is being whittled down time and time again. He's down to nothing, and 2 members are going to be stronger than 1, even if there was a little bit of extra HP on the 1.
Yeah, and this match, Mendrix, is a really good mix of slow. We saw the approach from UNSW was first was, okay, let's try see what we can do here. But the problem was that after they took that first opening salvo, they're like, okay, let's go. We're not going to try and make a push on their objective. We need to go at the entrenched position. And the problem was that they lost so much health from both of their buggies before they could really get a good challenge on the hill, that by the time, they got their VK onto the hill, it was just a little bit too late in terms of damage output, because suddenly one member dropped, the other member dropped not long from that one, and the divide and conquer worked because Beetle, we all know that VK hits hard, but the problem is he just couldn't get enough damage down onto the 2 damn Scoters.
Yeah, he did do a lot there as well, but when it is 1,113 spread among the 3 tanks, that is not going to be enough to actually kill them out there. I mean, roughly 860 HP roughly on those Scoters they're sitting around. But could be wrong, could be actually the buggy sitting on that there, but they're pretty damn close when it comes to the overall health values that they bring. And I think something that was also a little bit out there is the movement of the 2 buggies were just a little bit too staggered. You could tell, you know, Datsun was bringing in that little bit of extra firepower a bit too late to the party. And as you said there was a little bit of damage taken onto Epic. Asian Penguin also was sort of sitting ducks as they made that charge, and all the capitalization, all of that little bit of extra advantage was straight away given across to UQ, and they just ran with it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to make those kind of openings. There's less cover if you're not going to commit to an early charge, because the setup for the defense, well, there was nothing that, like, again, if you look at the previous map, you know, you have to fight for that middle ground there. You have to actually, you know, worry about it. We're not allowed to set up because you spend your whole time posturing. That time, there was no fight for the setup there. Got the high ground on the hill with the Scoters, like, okay, sweet, we're setting up. We've got plenty of time to move to a little nook and cranny if we're not too happy with where we initially charged to. And then the attack came through. So the slow scouting, I don't think was the problem necessarily. The problem for me, Mendrix, was you went for the slow scouting and then decided, okay, cool, they've got enough time to set up defense. Let's commit to it.
Yeah, I think that is something that's a little bit of a misstep. That idea of, okay, we've got all the information that we need. We should probably make the right decision. They spent the time, they did the scouting, they thought, yeah, no, we can still take this entrenched position here. When, to be honest, I think they could have made a beeline, just gone for site 2. That would have bought enough time for the VK to also come up from the behind as well. Perhaps even get a bit of a pincer maneuver from his positioning, because what would have happened is they've gone, oh crap, they're capturing the site now. Let's begin to make our move. As they're, you know, stuck in that middle of the transition, they get to fire a few shots off, and then the VK is coming in, shooting from behind as well, basically managing to get those weak spots as well. So you could have seen a completely different game plan here, but of course, these other players here that them opting in to actually, you know, go for a completely different play. Maybe they know something that we didn't hear. Probably that's probably the situation. They probably know something that we didn't, and they realized we had to go for the entrenched position. There's no way we would have probably been able to make it across the map in time and actually come out with a win.
Yeah, I think the one concern part could be if you do get caught on that move from the buggies, the Scoters could probably hit you. And there wasn't a lot of cover there. So I think that's more so the thing is you don't want to risk getting sniped off. So you have to make, you got 1 or 2 decisions. You can either charge at them where you can fire back, or you can make that beeline and then hope you don't get spotted. But if you do, those Scoters will start peppering at you. And then your VK, if they don't transition, the VK really struggles to do much in that situation.
Because in terms of that, there's roughly about a 5 mile/hour difference between the Scoters and the buggies. The Scoters having that advantage there. So if it comes down to there being a hunt, they would probably be able to come out on top there. But we are now moving into the next round here. UQ currently 2-1 up against UNSW. UNSW now are the ones on defense. They're still using the buggies and the VK, so no real change here in terms of what happens to be the tanks. Still going to be another 2 Scoters as well, so opting in to have pretty much the same sort of setup here. But looks like we are having a different game now, as they do happen to meet midway through around that east section of the map.
Yeah, but this is a 2 versus 3. Epic and Penguin need to get the hell out of Dodge because Dark and Stanky as well as Beetle are going to be able to run them down. But Epic takes a really, really bad bit of damage, and that's the worst thing that can happen to him. Legs in position and will just take him out of the game, not a minute in.
Stanky is pretty low. He suffered a bit of damage there to actually get that kill across. He's trying to get over the terrain, but he's not in a good shot, and now he's down to 17 HP. A bit of a sitting duck, but now has Dark and, of course, Timo to sort of draw a bit of fire, perhaps say, hey, you know, don't go for him because we're just going to kill you instead. And we do happen to see what happens to Asian Penguin getting around. That's Beetle there. Finally just gets to the shot, just takes out that kill, and now he's in an excellent position to begin peppering onto onto Timo and to Dark.
Yeah, and both UQ members are now kind of trapped here. You see them charging towards Penguin because they're not confident with these 2 Scoters. They need to try and divide the focus. They've done it before. If they can take down Penguin without losing a member, they could have done something, but now Dark will likely be able to take out Penguin. Okay, so last time we saw this Mendrix, it was 2 Skoders versus the VK, and we saw the Skoders come out on top. Against one, I'm not so sure the Skoda is going to be able to take this kind of fight.
All right, well, this is where it comes down to being one of those beautiful things where, oh, no, never mind, USW's on the fence. This is just like, I was going to be like, well, what you could do is like to try and get to one of the sites there and just like, that seems to be the play here, right? He's looking at it, he's like, all right, how much time do I have left? Not the best, it's counting down, just less than 5 minutes, all right. Let's just make a move here, see if we can get to a site and maybe force the VK into a bad position in the process of doing that. He's looking here now, was opting to go towards 1, but might make a loop and go into 2 here. He's just quietly happy to make the move. That's a bit is like, I ain't moving. I'm just going to wait here.
Oh, he doesn't need to, because he's got a pretty good line, so he can take a good guess. Okay, if point 1 starts getting captured, he can start doing pot shots. Might be able to land something there, and if 2 comes into effect, well, Dark is going to have to be ballsy, because Dark can't take a straight-on fight here. He's going to have to rely on the fact that his Skoda is faster than Datsun Beetle's tank here. So, coming in for a flank, Beetle is getting high-grounded, actually. Obi-Wan would be proud.
He would be very proud as well, but both of them have split each other out now. The shot there from Datsun is just going to hit the terrain, so it's not going to matter here. Good angle there, actually, for Dark. He's now beginning to look down. Don't know if he's got the depression angle on that tank to actually take the shots here, so we're going to have to wait and see. But that's what Beetle's like, you know what? If you're going to be in a good position, I don't care. I've got the heavier tank. I've got more armor. I'm just going to chase you down. And Stark's like, let me just move to the other side of the hill. Okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah, Dark has to play these kind of games now, Mendrix, because again, you can't take that straight up fight. The VK is going to ruin your day. So you've got to rely, like how you did before, outmaneuvering, being faster, being quicker, being more agile. The problem is that unlike last time, Dark hasn't got a teammate who's going to be able to split the focus, distract Datsun Beetle. It is only him. So he's got to find a way to attack Datsun Beetle without exposing himself for too long here. He's going to try and use the ruins as his advantage, but he's going to have to make sure he does not get caught, because I think 2 slugs might be enough to drop him. He's got to whittle down this VK.
Yeah, really good understanding there of the reload time actually on that VK as well. Skoda's able to get in, get 2 shots for 1 basically off the back of that, and is now just trying to use this terrain once again to see if he can force out another shot from Datsun Beetle, and then he'll take that opportunity. But even with him getting that extra shot off, yes, he did a little bit of damage, but he still got more HP on that VK, and let's be honest here, more armor as well, so that effective health is just so much stronger. And you can see Datsun's trying to get in position to get one of those shots, but just can't really find that angle. Skoda's off running again. It really is a cat and mouse game between the two of them, except this cat's had a little bit too much food on the side of things here and is probably a bit slower than it'd like to be.
Yeah, it does struggle to get up the hill a little bit here, and that's what Dark is relying on, saying, okay, I need to play these kind of games. I need to find the angle, and Dark cannot let that 2-minute timer panic him. If that gets to him, it could go badly, because that's when you start to make silly mistakes. That's when you start to make decisions that you know aren't the best. So Dark not rushing headfirst even after that timer comes across here, and the VK in Datsun Beetle's hands. Lurking around, but
lightly climbing up the hill.
He'll get there in about 500 years.
He's trying to jump up. Okay, come on, Datsun Beetle. You are the tank that could. You are the tank that could.
He's taking a little nap on the hill. He's tired.
Already. What are you gonna do? This is literally that scenario of like, when you're the quick kid, you just steal the hat and run off. You're like, oh, come on, man.
Well, Dark right now needs to keep playing these kind of games. If he takes one bad trade, it goes, well, it's good night for him, and that goes to a forced overtime. So Dark, no, sorry, all right, 1 minute left on the clock here. You've missed your shot. Can I get some good damage in? 1 gets in, not able to land a second there. Gets slammed on there. Is going for it though. Can he outmaneuver the barrel? Goes into the ram. Mendrix, one more hit, but no! Not able to do it. The little tank that coulda, woulda, wasn't able to.
Yeah, you can see he was trying to get a little bit of extra damage onto it, but again, that ram just didn't hit the mark when it came down. Trying to get a little bit extra velocity from having that downhill angle, and still, there is going to be a good defense coming across here from UNSW. And that does mean that we are gone to 2-2, and that does mean, of course, that we are moving into that tiebreaker map of Prohorakova.
Yeah, and what a recovery, I must say, from the side of UNSW. After losing Epic at the very start of that round, I expected it to continue there. I expected UQ to continue hunting them down one by one by one. But Penguin got some brilliant damage down on return. And of course, Epic got a few licks in as well before going down, that it was enough to take down the members of UQ to leave Datsun Beetle in the position where he shouldn't have been able to lose and was able to make that VK work.
What's really crazy about this is UQ actually read the play. They had their tanks in position. They were ready to actually get the shots off in the ambush. And that's what they did, but a few of them didn't hit. They did at least soften them up. They went in for the chase, but then the execution just didn't hit the mark. And of course, as you mentioned, that you illustrated it before, the buggies were just able to do so much damage in return that it just became a battle between that Skoda and of course against the VK towards the end. And Datsun Beetle played it safe, just sat down, understood, I've got more armor, I've got more HP, I've got more firepower. I'm on defense. I don't need to make the move here. I'm just going to wait for him to poke his head out and look for those shots. Yeah, a lot of them did miss at the end of the day, but of course, he was still able to find the ones that counted, and that means he was able to bring across another win and even up that score.
Yeah, and then now with both teams having 1 or 2 apiece, we go to the tiebreaker here, Mendrix.
What's the map, Midnight?
I hate you.
What's the map, Midnight? I've said it 3 times now. What's the map, Midnight?
I hate you so much. Why do you weaponize myself against me, Mendrix? Why do you hurt me like this? Oh, man.
That's all good in that sense there. But I think we are probably just going to move to what seems to be just a quick break before we do bring out that tiebreaker. So please, guys, do not go anywhere.
Before we're done.
From classic iced tea flavours like peach or mango to exotic lychee or pomegranate, you can enjoy your cha time any way you like. Cha time, shaking tea up.
Before we're done.
I just can't let you go. Lord knows that I've tried to. You said I was the only one. No one likes being lied to. You made this mess and left me with the pieces. Now I wanna burn all the bridges between us. I can't focus, I can't forget. I've been thinking too much lately. I just need to clear my head. I just need to clear my head. I've been stuck on your memory, but it's not like I need it. And we may have some history, but we don't have to repeat it. You made this mess and left me with the pieces. Now I'm gonna burn all the bridges between us.
The summer might be soon coming to an end. But that doesn't mean the summertime vibes have to stop. Now's the perfect time to relax and unwind. To feel the sand between your tracks. You know, just kick back and take it all in. It's your chance to escape. From everything, the hustle and bustle, to enjoy the peace and tranquility of a vacation.
Who wants to spend their time looking at a boring beach when you could be causing chaos on the battlefield? Well, why not have both? You know, sun, sea, and shells. With this month's Prime Gaming Drop, you'll get this awesome-looking 2D style, which can adorn any of your vehicles to remind you of the summer season. Plus, you can pick any 2 of the goodies you see on screen. Summer Vibes also includes a tropical medal, 2 summertime decals, 5 missions for ×5 experience when victorious, a brand new set of battle missions and rewards, 1 day of World of Tanks premium account. Want it all? Simply click Claim Offer on the dedicated World of Tanks Prime Gaming page. Link your Amazon and World of Tanks accounts, then click the Allow button to redeem the offer. It's that simple. Now let's get your goodies. Already in the game? Just exit and log in again. Visit the official website to learn more. Commanders, keep the summer vibes going.
Welcome back, Tankers, to the Australian Esports University League for World of Tanks. If you're just joining us right now, UQ are versing UNSW for the tiebreakers. They've both gone 2-2, and possibly White might be the top of the ladder. I'm pretty excited to see what these two guys do come into it as well, and see what happens. What is going to be the result here, Midnight? Mate, have you been enjoying this round so far? Because these guys have really been showing us what happens when it gets just a little bit too tense, and an idea of, hey, I'm going all out these last 10 seconds here, especially between Datsu Beetle and a certain buggy, or a certain Skoda.
Yeah, well, that's what the joy of it is, right, Mendrix, is the fact that these two teams are so close, are so competitive. They've traded back and forth, and I mean, it makes sense when you look at the last 3 rounds between both of these two squads. Well, it's fair to say that they have put on stellar performances throughout the course of the match. In fact, you can look at the fact that the UQ side have only dropped a single round. And when I say round, I mean they have won round 1, 2, and 3, and they have gone 4-0 in 2 of them and 3-1 in 1 of them. So this is a super dominant UQ showing coming out from them here. But their opponents of UNSW, well, they are able to slow their strides. They've drawn it out. And the reason why here, Mendrix, is because UNSW have also only lost a singular round, winning that game 3-1. The other 2, they've won in 4-0 fashion. So both of these teams coming in for the tiebreaker match have had pretty much the exact same path to round number 4.
Yeah, and this is what's so exciting about it, because even though they've now come together to actually go for that fight, it's still the same path. We're on 2-2 now, which means is that with this tiebreaker coming into play for the final round, they get a little bit of extra time in preparation. It's going to be on Prorokova. I think I've finally learned how to pronounce that map. Midnight, come on, hit me up with it. What do you got?
I've got nothing except pain and suffering, Mendrix, and an idea of what tanks we could be seeing here, because we both know these teams have a preference for, the Skoda and the buggy, respectively.
Yes.
And we've seen on this map previously, there was a bit of a preference to use these medium tanks to do a little bit of scouting through the brushes on, I believe, the left-hand side or right-hand side, depending on which side you're on, of the map itself. So I'm interested to see, do they commit to bringing 2 of each? Do they only bring 1 and then a couple of VKs? I'm wondering, which way they're going to cut their slice of tank.
Exactly right. And the other thing as well is if you do decide to take that route of just going, we're just going to bring 3 VKs, 3 heavies. Let's just go on that sort of stuff. Of course, they do have the ability to only bring 2 of the same tank into the mix of it. And that question is now going to be answered. We're going to have what seems to be 2 Cromwells here on the side of the UQ, and they're going to be using a Crusader. A little bit of a change coming across here. Of course, VK is going to be the name of the game for the side of UNSW, and they'll also be bringing a Cromwell to the battle.
Yeah, well, a lot of Cromwells coming in for the side of UQ, so really wanting that mobility that they provide. Obviously, UNSW, though, really comfortable with the double VKs we were talking about earlier. But it's no real illusion where the side of UQ are going to go for this attack. It's always lurking through the brushes here. You do not want to get caught out in the open, and so it becomes a vision game, and Dark's Crusader is likely to find something at first there, but he hasn't exactly got a lot of health to play with, so he realizes he gets caught without noticing it, he could be in for a world of hurt.
Well, they're definitely seeing each other now, and he's trying to fly it right on through. It's going to be a lot of damage here. Two fronts attacking this Cromwell. Epic's just trying to get away now for the time being. Dark, he's dodging most of the shots. You can see the Cromwell's trying to keep up, trying to get some extra hits in as well. But all in all, it seems like it's going to be UQ coming out the better of this exchange. But they're still on the chase right now. Another shot's going to go wide. And now this Cromwell is trying to be able to cut off the next point of attack here. Is he now running out of map to actually keep moving his way through?
Yeah, but Epic is coming out the worst end of the trade here, considering it compared to Dark at least. So Dark can be pretty happy with this one here, but then again, you've got to look at remembering 2 VKs have a lot of health to burn through. As Epic's Cromwell finally starts to catch a little bit of fire here, will be forced to try and hide, but I say try and hide because the Cromwells from the flank aren't going to make that easy.
Yeah, you can see now you do have Epic just being taken out, who's in the middle of the field, so it was pretty easy for them to finally get those shots, but now Datsun Beetle's on the move. They're getting a few shots into Finnegan. You can see now Finnegan's like, all right, I'm still visible, gotta run, gotta keep on moving. Another shot will land, another 265 HP chipped away here, and they're looking to get revenge for Epic at this point in time, but I think now Datsun Beetle realizes, hey, this guy is getting out of my range. The next few shots probably just aren't gonna have the same pump to it. So I'm now going to make a move here, begin to move towards the other side and see if they can actually get a hit onto Timo or perhaps onto Dark on that Crusader.
Yeah, well, getting some nice damage on to Penguin here. Timo is back here, and now with these 3 lighter tanks against the 2 heavy VKs, they just need to try and play around the vision, but they're more than aware of that. From the side of UNSW, they're charging forwards, trying to lock down someone. They couldn't lock down one Cromwell. I'll see if they have any better luck with the one that is currently running for its life here. Timo is trying to hide, and Penguin is very up in the open, but again, these VKs can take a beating, so whenever they go for these trades, they're going to have to be very, very sneaky about it, like that.
Yeah, well, once again, they are going for these shots here. Asian Penguin taking more damage here as well. Is trying to lock down Timo with this Cromwell, but I love that positioning that he's actually taking into. He's saying, you know what, if I just hit behind here, I've got 2 brushes worth of cover. That's a little bit of extra camo. Of course, now Datsun Beetle is on the right side of that brush, which means you can see him completely fine, and looks like this Cromwell is not meant to live that much more longer. He's going to take a little bit of damage onto Datsun Beetle in the process. But the Crusaders here as well to try to assist. Maybe trying to go for the block, but it's not going to be enough. And now it's going to be the Crusader up against the VK. And to be honest, even though he's been healthy this entire time, he's in a really good spot here. Actually, look where he is. He's beginning to just move around on the side. And yeah, you can see the VK can't get the shot around that. His turret speed is too long. Does finally get a shot, but the Crusader's doing the damage.
And there we have it. UQ decided, look, we don't need heavy tanks on a map like this. Mobility is king here. And UNSW tried to run the same thing we always see out of them, double VK. And unfortunately, it just did not work out there. They lost their scouting Cromwell, and then they just started getting picked apart by the Cromwell-Crusader combination.
And to be honest, I think that is actually the first real light tank that's actually been used. Most of the other quicker tanks have been on the lighter end of those medium sides. So pretty crazy here that this Crusader comes in and just performs so much work on the side of it to actually come out and get this map win.
Yeah, even look at that for Penguin there. Really wasn't able to do anything on that VK because, again, if you want to hit a target, you got to be able to see them. And losing Epic so early on hampered their ability to really be able to do anything. Losing their scouting member there, suddenly the 2 heavy VKs were stuck in a trading battle where we saw them trying to hunt down, you know, the quick Cromwells here, but Timo and Finken were just too damn fast, too damn safe, able to slip out of vision, and then it's like, okay, cool, you lost sight of me, I'm coming right back at it. And hell, we talked about it at the start of the day, Mendrix, when it comes to assigning your damage. You want to try and take out members instead of just whittle them down and let them escape. And we see that match as a perfect example of why you just need to kill the targets before they get away from you.
I really cannot stress how good that finish was from Dark. The ability to come in, basically make the charge. I thought he was looking for a ram, like a ram from a light tank on a heavy. What's going on here? This is a bit ridiculous in that sense. But he was just literally just trying to get in, use the advantages of his mobility just to move around the tank, stop him from actually getting the hits. And he just basically laid into him, shot after shot after shot. And the response just wasn't there from the VK. So really good use of the tank towards the very end. Apart from that, Midnight, any final words before I give us the sponsor reads and close us out?
No, not really here, Mendrix. It was a very entertaining 2 rounds that we did get to see here. A little bit of everything come through, and particularly in that final round, 2 of the stronger teams come through, going all the way to the tiebreaker match. And if nothing else, I'm really interested to see these 2 teams butt their heads again, because they absolutely will if they keep playing like they are.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, to be honest, the way they put it, we do get to see better things as well. Perhaps maybe a change in the meta as well. That being said, though, again, this competition is all thanks to Chatime, one of the fastest growing AEST franchises in Australia. AOC offering a wide selection of stylish monitors for home, office, and gaming. Indomie, the best quality flour and fresh spices from the natural resources of Indonesia. Good old Rig, audio for competitive gamers and streamers at all levels. And also a big shout out to Wargaming as well, who's been collaborating with us, who's been helping us out, making sure that we had all the resources we need to put onto this competition. So Wargaming Sydney, thank you very much, guys. And that's all from me. And of course, Midnight, you guys have a fantastic night.
Our delicious new gingerbread and white chocolate Chatime is available in your choice of milky or frozen iced tea, or made hot, so you can enjoy it any way you like. Chatime, shaking tea up.